Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Good morning, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you are doing well. Hope things are going smoothly in your neck of the woods. Hope you had a good Monday Night Football experience. Hope you're still playing in fantasy baseball. We got you covered here on the show, and hopefully got you covered in the real world as well. I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. I don't know why I'm talking like this. You can find my work over at FG. You can find me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter X, all those places at The Ray Flowers. You can find me here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Wednesdays, I'm with Jeff Mans. This show is 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. Elite Sports with Jeff Mans is from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. So 4 days a week I'm here. On those Wednesdays, I'm with Jeff from 2 to 5. Justin Fensterman steps in here. Justin and Russell Clay here on the show. They're doing Sunday night on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, so tune in for that. I think it's 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So we got a lot of crossover with the show here, the free show here, and then obviously over at SiriusXM. So avail yourself of the opportunity to get involved, to become part of the Elite Mafia, the largest active community in fantasy sports. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Sorry, a little foggy today. Not feeling great, so I'll try not to make a complete boob of myself. It's a good word, boob, right? Usually we think of breast when we think of boob, but boob's also an idiot. I'm doing my best here. What are we talking about on the show today? Here we go. We'll throw it up on the screen there. Baseball and football. Remember, Mondays now are all footballs. We review the Sunday game action as we did yesterday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is kind of a mixture of things. Half football, half other stuff. When I'm on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll do half baseball, half football. When Justin Fensterman's on, there'll be basketball. There'll be some football. He might even do some baseball too. He will have Rich Mileto on the show. Anyway, we'll talk pitching. We'll talk hitting. Some guys that might be coming back to help you. Some guys that are surging right now. Some guys dealing with injuries. You know how it goes. Lots of up and down, as always, in the world of baseball. And then on the football side of things, we're going to visit with Armando Marsal. He's here Tuesdays at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Guests come in about a half an hour into the show. So Armando's with us every Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Wednesdays, it's Rich Mileto. Thursdays, it's Tyler Beaker. Fridays, it's Russell Clay. So that's how that goes. We'll talk Monday Night Football, that game between the Vikes and the Bears. What do we see? And then we'll talk about some players that, performed very well in week one or didn't perform very well in week one. What do you do with these guys? Armando and I will talk through the situation with guys like Kaleb Johnson, Jaydon Blue, Dylan Sampson, Kayshon Boutte, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, and Juwan Johnson. So we'll talk about that here moving forward. There's many ways to get involved with the show. You can leave comments and questions live if you're watching the show at youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. Possible streaming issue with Facebook. Well, hopefully everything's okay because you can go to facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. Normally, I just got a note that's saying there's an issue with Facebook. But in those three places, Twitter X, Facebook, YouTube, you can watch the show live and leave comments live that we can address. You can always go to fantasyguru.com at any point. Just click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page and find all the shows on the network, including this one cataloged. Then you can just type in Fantasy Sports Daily wherever you listen to podcasts. You should be able to find us there. And, we're not everywhere, but, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, iTunes. You should be able to find us there. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily. Ethan B says, happy Tuesday, Ray. Thanks as always for the great help and insight. You are welcome. Hello, Angelo. Ethan B also asked, do you think Strider bounces back today? Look, we've talked a lot about Strider down the stretch here and made a big deal about his struggles here on the show. We made a big deal about the change when he went to the offsite pitching mechanical group. We talked about his increased vertical break, the carry on his fastball, which is 18% at his peak, had dropped down to 16 inches this year. He went and visited, the off-site pitching gurus. It got back up to 18%. We got really excited. And then last time out, it was another bleh. So, Kyle Tucker's still out of the lineup. I don't know if he's going to play today or not. It's not like the Cubs right now are absolutely dominating. But it's really tough with Strider because it's been up, it's been down. Bounce back. What's the bounce back? Quality start is probably the best case scenario. It's really tough to get a handle on him right now. It's just really tough. The intermittent performance struggles. John G's got the pertinent question of the day. We'll talk with Armando Marcel about this specifically, John. Which random backup running back should I drop to add another random backup running back? That is something that's so fascinating to me. I choose to have it be fascinating to me because otherwise I'd pull what remaining hair I have out. Because I have said for decades, literally decades now, this is my 24th and a half year full time here, fantasy sports. Randomly grabbing backup running backs isn't a plan. And there is somebody in your league, and it might be you. There's someone in your league that this week it's this guy. They drafted this guy. Then before the season began, they dropped that guy for somebody else because of the news reports. Now after week 1, they're dropping that guy to pick somebody else. Cuff your guys. Or at least be involved in the good scenarios. Like there's all this excitement about the Browns. And we'll talk to Armando about Dylan Sampson. Like, I don't know anyone wants to be involved in the Browns backfield. I don't get that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Ethan wishes me well. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate that. Casey says, preach, Ray. They need to hear it. Well, they do, Casey. You preach too. Tell your friends. Because yeah, it's really frustrating. It's kind of infuriating, actually. And John, you bring up a good point. Others grab handcuffs other than you, so you only have other people's handcuffs to grab if you want running backs. If you have Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, absolutely without question, was that guy. Absolutely without question this year. Charbonnet was, what was his ADP? 6th, 7th round, depending upon your league size at the end there. That's ridiculous for handcuff. Now, week 1, it worked out and he got in the end zone, but still. He's a prime example of how that's a problem. There's also other scenarios where I would say, that's not, it really depends upon how you want to build a team. We're getting a little sidetracked here. We'll talk baseball in a second, folks, but a couple of good questions here that I wanted to bring up. You can still build the team the way you want to build your team. And I did this in the SiriusXM Host League. Okay. In the 6th round, I took Connor. In the 7th round, I took Jones. In the 8th round, I took Mason. In the 9th round, I took Benson. Like, you can do it. I got 4 picks in a row, and I got the 2 backfields. I got the Vikings and the Cardinals backfields on the 4 straight picks. If you wait to take your handcuff to the 14th round, well, yeah, you're going to get sniped. And people do also do what you're talking about here, John. They randomly grab the backup running back. It's super annoying and super stupid because they add this guy, and then they drop him in week 3. If in week 1 or 2, running back A doesn't get hurt, they're dropping that running back in week 3 because all they're doing is hoping the first running back gets hurt. Again, it's not a plan. Don't be those people because that's not a plan. Could it work out yeah, sure, it could work out. It's not a plan. You get the point. All right. Angela says, I drafted Harvey and grabbed Dobbins off the wire. Angela, how in the world is Dobbins on the waiver wire? Dobbins is a top 25 running back in our rankings over at fantasyguru.com, our seasonal rankings. How is he on the waiver wire? We had him ranked ahead of RJ Harvey. So unless you drafted before Dobbins joined the Broncos, which is possible. Even in a 10-team league, Angela, Dobbins is a running back 2. He's a running back 2 in the rankings at fantasyguru.com. Dobbins should not be on the waiver wire. Okay, anyway, we'll talk some more football with Armando Marcel here in a bit. Angela drafted in July. Okay, there you go. Okay, let's talk some baseball here. We'll start off by talking Michael King. Some good news. Michael King's coming back for the Padres. The Padres obviously battling for playoffs and all this kind of stuff. Today, to face the Reds, Michael King is expected to be activated by the Padres. This will be just the second start, I think, since May because of his shoulder. So he's basically replacing Nestor Cortez in the rotation. It's a good move for the Padres. I don't think he made an official minor league rehab start over the last 3 weeks when he hurt his knee, which is the most recent issue he's dealt with. So Michael King is very difficult to look at today against the Reds and say, I can start that guy with any degree of confidence. It might be 60 pitches. We just don't know. So good news, he's back. But the start today with Michael King really is more about getting him prepped for his next start next week, where we should have a better handle on what to expect. Daniel Palencia, who has been so good for the Cubs. We were talking about them. It's been so good for the Cubs. Placed on the injury list with a shoulder strain. We don't know how much time he's going to miss officially, but there's 3 weeks left in the season. I mean, his season easily could be over. Maybe he comes back for the playoffs. We'll see, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, it's Dunsky for Palencia. That leaves 2 guys, Andrew Kittredge and Brad Keller. I've seen reports suggesting Andrew Kittredge might be the guy because of his background. I think it's Brad Keller. If I had to choose between Keller and Kittredge, I would choose Keller. That is not to say that Keller is going to for sure be the guy. That is not to say it won't be mix and match scenario. We talked about Keller and the greatness of his season after basically failing as a starting pitcher. Dominance out of the bullpen is very rare, and he's done it. So kudos to him. Keller and Kittredge, the two names. Keller slightly ahead of Kittredge if you're looking to get a boost down the stretch in the saves column. Chase Burns back in our lives, baby. Chase Burns, who's been out with the elbow issue. When he went down with the injury, we speculated, are we going to see him again? Is his season over? What does the team gain by getting him out there and getting him a few innings if there's any concerns with his arm? Obviously, the fact they got him back out there aren't any concerns with his arm. So this is really good news. He'll start Friday against the Athletics. He's had 57 strikeouts in 34 innings. Woo! Again, just kind of like Michael King. Where is he this first start back? He's missed a couple of weeks here. He's got a couple of weeks left. So again, another one of these scenarios, like very reluctant to get excited about starting him. And with all his strikeouts too, like this could be a scenario where he only gets through 3 innings and has 6 strikeouts, but throws 49 pitches, and they just say that's enough. So Chase Burns back in our lives starting Friday. Good news. Maybe next week we could start him with a high level or at least some level of confidence. This week we have to slow play things a little bit. Slade Cecconi took a no-hitter into the 8th inning last night. Gave up just 1 run, obviously 1 hit in his 8 innings of work. Pretty damn good. And this Cecconi's a guy we've talked about off and on, written about him off and on over at fantasyguru.com. His numbers are just there. He's 6-6. The ERA is 4.5. Due to face the White Sox next, as we have discussed many times, that is a pretty darn good matchup that we have. And the thing that he has done, Cecconi, is that he gives you innings each time out. And that's a rare thing in the modern day, right? He's been really up and down here of late. His ERA at his last 6 starts is a little bit over 6. So there's been some struggles there, but he's still giving 5 or 6 innings every time out. A strong effort last night, obviously. Next time out against the White Sox is a positive start there. If we go then, he'd be pitching against Minnesota in Minnesota. That's also not a bad next final start there. And then if he stayed on pace again, he'd probably get Texas the final series. So, down the stretch here, not a difference maker, Slade Cecconi, but a guy who, pitched great last night, got a great matchup, certainly in the addition off the waiver wire stream area. If you're looking for a boost, and he's out there for you. Nolan McLean, of the Mets. I mean, this is now, the Phillies lost Alec Boehm. Yeah, they lost Trey Turner. Both guys going to the injury list yesterday. Yeah. McLean gave 5 1/3 innings of work, gave up 1 run. He got 13 swings and misses. His velocity was up over a full mile an hour last night. And we're starting to get into a little bit with McLean of the stupid zone here. And, as I've talked about with all of you many times, especially if you're in a dynasty league, as I am. I'm in one dynasty league where we have 45-man rosters, the full thing. 40-man rosters, IL spots, 45-man rosters. You get to August, and people stop paying attention, especially the teams that aren't doing very well. I was able to pick up Nolan McLean off the waiver wire when he was promoted. And I mean, it's like, out of the $1,000, what did I spend? 40? That's all I had left, basically. He's been fantastic for the Mets. We talked about him when he was promoted. There was hope and everything like that, but he's been fantastic. Strikeout an inning. He's 4-1. His ERA is 1.5. His whip is under 1. You look at the numbers here, 88% left on base rate. Okay, fine. That's stupid. That number is not going to sustain itself. You look at some of the batted ball data. I mean, a 3% launch angle, a 67% ground ball rate. He's been really, really good. And this is extremely heartening right now because you're rolling with him. But next year, you never know. And it's a lot different making 5 starts than it is making 25 starts. But these first 5 starts of McLean have been about as good as anyone could have possibly hoped. Actually, I'll say that more directly. It's been better than anyone could have hoped. It's been fantastic. Kudos to him as my screen goes crazy behind me. I don't know what's going on. Let's see if I can make the adjustment there. I don't know. It's always something with this, right? And there's my memories of the day in my OneDrive. What timing there. What a good-looking dog. You can follow him on Instagram at OllieAussieDog. Aaron Nola, 7 strikeouts, 6 innings of work on Monday in that Phillies loss to the Mets. He pitched really well. And he led a season with 3 hits through 94 pitches. Nola is still very difficult to trust, right? Because he's much like Spencer Strider in the sense that we know there's more here than what we've seen, but in his last 5 starts, his ERA is 6. The whip is 1.3. He's got more than a strikeout inning. He's actually won 3 games. Last 3 outings, his whip is down to 1.2. Faces the Royals next. Bobby Witt's beat up there, which would help if he's obviously out of the lineup. I'm trying to see here. Likely to face Cameron if they stay on track. Then his next outing would be in Arizona. That is not good. So he'd be set to make a start on Sunday this week, and then be a 1-start guy next week, and then 1 start the final week. So against Kansas City, okay. That outing in Arizona, following it up next week. Can't feel good about this one, or that one, excuse me, at this point in time with Mr. Nola. Jameson Taillon has got a groin issue. Will be activated to start tomorrow for the Cubs against the Braves. Minimum stay on the injured list, so that's really good news. 75, 85 pitches. He should be in this area, right? The Braves, we'll talk about one of their guys here in a few minutes. The Braves have got weapons all over the place. There's guys going down. We just lost Sean Murphy for the season. I'm sure you saw that news with his hip. I think it was his hip, right? They're beat up. They're not the team they were. Where they've dropped every day. Cecconi gets dropped in the orders. He's batting 9th today. Like, it's really weird what the Braves are doing here. So it's not, oh my gosh, we got to be fearing starting anyone against the Braves right now. But Taillon coming back from the injury, again, workload should be okay, but that's not a start I'm rushing to make with Jameson Taillon. Tyler Mahle is looking to return from his shoulder issue. Could happen this weekend against the Mets. Unlike a lot of the guys we've talked about where it's like, well, we're uncertain and everything like that, we're pretty certain with the uncertainty with Mahle, if that makes any sense. I think the last time out, he threw 2 1/3 innings. So best case scenario, he comes out and throws a no-hitter, right? It's 4 innings. 50 pitches. He's not going deep into this game. I don't know how you could possibly start Tyler Mahle in any format and expect him to go 5 innings and get an opportunity for a victory. So against the Mets, let's go. Let's get out there. Let's have a good effort. Let's put some good stuff on film for next season. He's missed a ton of time with the shoulder issue. There's always a chance his next couple of starts maybe something kind of, but again, 2 1/3 innings, I think, his last time out. This time it's 3 1/3, 3 2/3. Next time out, it's 4 2/3. Then he gets to 5 innings on his last start of the season, right? So, yeah, great start to the year, but it just, the injury has obviously doomed him in 2025. Jo Adell in September, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs in 7 games, batting .400. And then in one of the most Jo Adell things of all time, scratched from the lineup yesterday because of vertigo. I never had vertigo per se. Great movie, by the way, by Alfred Hitchcock. I've never had vertigo directly. I have had vertigo indirectly. I had an inner ear infection multiple times when I was a child. Actually, when I was a kid, in both 7th and 8th grade, one time I missed 8 weeks of school. The other time I missed 6.5 weeks of school. I literally couldn't stand up. To go to the bathroom, I had to lean against the wall. I couldn't focus to read. They tried to hold me back in 7th grade. Obviously, that didn't happen. I was able to still pass the test. But I was so I know what it's like to deal with issues of balance. I couldn't stand up. Again, it was an ear infection. I thought I had a brain tumor. I had CAT scans and all kinds of stuff. Obviously, I'm okay. Thank you for your well wishes. But Jo Adell, 35 home runs, 94 RBIs, on the cusp of a 35-100 season. Again, he's been on absolute fire. He's got 6 home runs and 15 RBIs the last 12 games. His last 26 games, 10 home runs, 24 RBIs. Unclear how much time he's going to miss. Comes at a brutal time. I'm dealing with the Kyle Tucker. We're not putting him on the injured list. I'm dealing with that in the league. So we all have our demons we're dealing with. But Jo Adell, hopeful to be back in the lineup here. But this really couldn't come at a worse time because we're coming down the stretch, because he's locked in and because he's trying to make us forget about all the struggles in the past. And this kind of doesn't allow us to do that, right? Rhys Hoskins returned from his thumb injury. So now things get really interesting with the Brewers. The Brewers continue to do basically no wrong, but they got too many players. Not a bad thing when you're trying to win divisions and playoff series and World Series and all that. But you look at this team now, and it's like, okay, if Christian Yelich is at DH because of his back, which is seemingly what they really want to do. How many games has Yelich played in the outfield this year? Let's look this up. They want to put him at DH because of his back. He's only played 19 games in the outfield. Play one more game, Christian. That leaves first base in the hands of Andrew Vaughn. or Rhys Hoskins, because the outfield will be Churio in center, Sal Frelick in right, and then Isaac Collins in left with Blake Perkins in reserve. So Hoskins and Vaughn are they're the same guy battling for the same position. So this is a situation to watch very closely here because it's completely unclear how this is going to play out for the next 3 weeks. Are they going to roll with Hoskins because he's the veteran? Are they going to play Hoskins because they got to get his back going for the playoffs? Are they going to go with Vaughn, who's been terrific as a Brewer, even though he's slowed down of late? That's one of those scenarios that we have to watch the playing time very closely because it is unclear exactly what's going to happen. You know what's interesting too, by the way? I just got a text. I always get texts when I'm doing the show here. I don't know how many people know this. I've said it from time to time. When COVID happened, I was worried about the world of sports and what was going to happen in life. So I went and got my real estate license. Since then, I'm not practicing. I've never practiced. But since then, I've re-upped my real estate license. So I'm still officially I'm still officially able to be a real estate license. I've got a seat, a virtual seat with a broker. So technically, I'm on the books and the whole thing. I was randomly getting texts from people all the time saying, hey, Ray, hey, Ray. And I'm like, how do these people know my name? So I finally went and looked at the website. My name's listed on the website. So it's like, oh, that's how these people are getting my phone number and stuff. So if you're out in California, I don't practice real estate. If you want to talk to me, I can get a $500 referral if you ask me to introduce you to somebody. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I got another one of those texts. Hey, Ray, just wanted to reach back out. Brenton Doyle, I see this right here. Ethan, can Brenton Doyle play all his games at home? Yeah, it'd be nice if he did. Brenton Doyle was out of the lineup yesterday, but since the All-Star break, let's pull his numbers up. And we talked about Brenton Doyle. Obviously, he suffered, immense tragedy with the loss of his child, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering that story correctly. Unimaginable pain that must have been. Horrible first half of the season here. Second half has been fantastic and looked a lot like the guy we saw last year. In 41 games, he has 7 home runs and 7 steals, basically a 25-25 pace, right? Batting .343. He's got a .919 OPS. The strikeout rate is down to 22%, so he's putting the ball in play an awful lot. He has been fantastic. And there's a chance, I don't know, there's a chance on the waiver wire, right? And you look at his numbers, he's got a 886 OPS at home this year. He had a 900 OPS at home last year. So yes, you are right, Ethan. Play him all the time in Colorado, but right now, play him all the time because he's ramping things up here down the stretch, and he's been very, very productive down the stretch. It was only a matter of time before things kind of turned for him. Things have started to turn for Royce Lewis as well. He had a pair of 2-run home runs yesterday. We've talked about Lewis many times here on the show. The fact with Royce Lewis is woefully missing expectations, all that kind of stuff. So that's 27 games, he got 7 home runs and 20 RBIs. His last 12 games, that's 4 home runs and 10 RBIs. His last 6 games, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 4 steals. So let's put this all together. The last month, he has hit 7 home runs and stolen 6 bases. That's a 40-30 pace for a season. Or even so, 35-30. It's a 30-30 pace. That's what he's done for a month. Now, he's only hitting 240 in that time, but the number is much better the last couple of weeks. It's 290. But the fact is, this is who Lewis can be. It doesn't mean anything at this point. The team is going nowhere. There's been some whispers, well, maybe it's because the team is going nowhere that he's doing so well. I don't know about that. Lack of pressure and all that. What I do know is that he is killing it right now. And, this is going to be a scenario where everyone's going to talk about this next year. He's going to have a 980 OPS in September. We're going to get all the stories next year about, September was great. He figured it out. We'll see what it means in 2026. But right now, bottom line is Royce Lewis is getting it done. Check the waiver wire. Ozzie Albies hit a solo home run yesterday. Ozzie Albies, we've talked about a lot as well. One of my favorites because he's always productive and he's never really as expensive as he should be. His overall numbers are not very good, but he has been on absolute fire here. He's pulling a Michael Harris. And he's up to 16 home runs, 14 steals. So he's going to go 15-15, which is we'd like him just 25-15, but 15-15, okay. Couple runs, couple RBIs away from going 70-70. It's not terrible. Hit 247 last year. He's batting 242 this year. Not terrible. Now, overall, he's got an OPS in the 600. So I'm not, not been the guy we expected him to be. But just like Royce Lewis, over the last month of time, he's batting 320 with a 940 OPS. He's got 7 home runs and 21 RBIs in 27 games played. The last 2 weeks, he's played 13 games. He has 6 home runs, 15 RBIs, and 11 runs scored. And his OPS is 1250. So, we all talk about we want guys to finish strong and all that kind of stuff. Ozzie Albies doing his best to, because there have been some rumors that, his contract and maybe he's not going to be the starting second baseman for this team next year. We'll see. But he is one of the best performers in baseball right now at the second base position. He's rolling for the Braves. Jack Caglianone of the Royals, wanted to talk about him a little bit quickly here before we talk some football in a couple minutes with Armando Marsal. Single in a couple of runs yesterday, also had a walk. He's only starting against right-handies. He's sitting against lefties. And that's obviously a killer to his fantasy outlook. Platoon guys, he's in the Matt Wallner zone right now, except he's no Matt Wallner in production terms. This has been bad. And again, 177 plate appearances. Okay. It's not been good. 123 isolated power mark. I mean, this guy's scouting report on that 2080 scale is like a 70. Like, it's elite power. His isolated power mark is 123. Ooh. Yee. What's this? 1.6 ground ball flat. 50% ground ball rate. Ugh. So he's got a lot of things to work on. Didn't go as anticipated in his first season. Obviously, still very bright future. We're not writing an epitaph for Jack Caglianone, but a woefully disappointing season for him as a rookie this year. Gavin Sheets, on the other hand, who's never been confused with Caglianone in terms of talent, getting it done. Another big game last night for Gavin Sheets. Sheets has produced, he's first base and outfield eligible. He's produced longer than I anticipated he would. Much like Ozzie Albies, he's killing it right now. Much like Caglianone, he's platooned. He doesn't play every day. But the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 400 with an 1100 OPS. It's only 37 at bats. He's hitting 405. Last month, 388. Gavin Sheets. That's one of the, 19 home runs, 64 RBIs, hitting 269. But if you played him at the right time as a dual position eligible guy, one of the right times being right now, getting some nice return from him. And then finally, before we talk some football with Armando Marsal, Corey Seager out with the abdomen issue. What is it? Is it appendix? Yeah, appendix. I'm breaking it right now. They're hoping he's back for their final homestand, which starts next Friday. So it seems like the plan for the Rangers is not only get Tyler Mahle back, but to get Corey Seager back at some point, maybe next weekend. Maybe. Again, is this really usable information for the fantasy perspective? No. If you have Seager, it would depend on who you're rolling out there. But is he going to play every other day? But the good news is he's healthy, moving in the right direction. He's a really frustrating player because he had that stretch this season where he was just balls good, right? And his numbers are, they're solid here. He's got 373 on base strength. He's got an 860 OPS. Like, these are really good numbers. 21 home runs, 50 RBIs. Now, he's only played 102 games, but we're now looking at 3 consecutive seasons where Seager has failed to play 125 games. And going back to COVID, going back to 2022, played 125 games once. Now remember, this dude's making $32 million a year. Got to stay on the field. Or got to get on the field more than stay on the field. Got to get and stay. He's got to get out there. It's been an issue that he's dealt with for far too long. All right, so there's our talk for baseball. We'll return tomorrow to talk some baseball here on the show. First half hour of the show, and then we'll visit. Actually, what am I saying? Let me stop that. I won't be here tomorrow. It's a Wednesday. I'll be with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. I'll return Thursday and Friday here to talk baseball, the first half hour of the show, the second half of the show, football. It's the second half of the show today. And what that means is we talk football with Armando Marsal. You can go to fantasyguru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. It's right there in that toolbar at the top. You can find this show, Fantasy Sports Daily, catalog there, so you can listen to all the old episodes. You can also find Mind of Marsal. A new one of those just dropped. A Mind of Marsal by Armando Marsal. You can find it there. So click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can find Armando in chat rooms, doing live streams, writing articles. he's kind of all over the place. So let's bring in Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. He sent me a note before the show began today and said he is looking forward to the show today. Armando, welcome in. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Ray. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Why are you so excited about today? What are you looking forward to?
Well, it's not excitement. It is excitement, but we listen. We got to settle down, ladies and gentlemen. I think everyone's panicking. I see a lot of panic, a lot of overreaction. It's 1 week of football, and I'm going to continue to remind everyone it's just 1 week of football. All right, it's patience. We got to trust the process, right? We got to trust all the hard work we put in the preseason, all the research we did, all of that stuff. We have to trust that and not overreact over 1 week. I think some of these things were expected, right? I don't think there was that many surprises. Obviously, there were some underwhelming performances, and we can discuss some of these things. But I think for the most part, there wasn't anything overly surprising, especially for some of these young running backs that we're going to discuss here on the show today.
Yeah, and let's start out before we get to that. We'll answer questions in Discord. Let's look at last night's Monday Night Football game. The Vikings defeated the Bears 27-24, and I think this is a perfect example. Like, the Vikings threw the ball 20 times. How many times this season are they going to throw the ball 20 times? Like, that's really low number. So you're disappointed, Jefferson. It's not likely that J.J. McCarthy's throwing it 20 times most games. On the Bears side, I've seen a lot of people disappointed with DeAndre Swift. Look, I get it. But shouldn't they be focusing on the fact he touched the ball 20 freaking times? 20 touches. Like, if your running back is touching it 20 times a week, you're winning. Those are two examples, I think, of what you're talking about, Armando, about, sometimes weird things happen in single games, but you gotta look deeper than just the surface numbers sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what I wrote a message on Discord today. Week one, don't necessarily focus only on the final outcome, right? Like the production, focus on the opportunities, the roles, the touches. That's what I'm focusing on. Like you mentioned, like Swift had a lot of opportunities, right? This was a tough matchup. Like the Vikings are a very good defense. And I think what we saw yesterday with Minnesota was they took one approach in the first half and they made adjustments and really pressured Caleb Williams in that second half. And that's kind of the change here. And then you saw McCarthy once he got comfortable, right? This was his first NFL game, ladies. Like his first NFL game. The Bears came out playing very good. I mean, I was very impressed with the way that they played here. It was a great game. And, he got rolling. I got a message from one of my buddies after the first quarter of the game. Oh, I think Justin Jefferson. Should we be worried about Justin Jefferson? I'm like, we're talking about a quarter of football. I think McCarthy at that point had 2 pass attempts, if that. So I'm not, I think it's going to be just fine for both Swift and Jefferson. I liked what I saw from both sides of the field here. I know, Caleb Williams, I think he looked good. I think he made some impressive throws. I also think he made some, some bad throws. But overall, I think it was a very good game. I think it's promising outlook for this Chicago Bears offense. I think Ben Johnson did a really good job there, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. I think that was a big issue last year. We saw that, kind of, play out differently in this game. And I think McCarthy and company are going to be just fine. We expected the dual-headed monster between Mason and Jones. We saw that firsthand yesterday. I think this is something here to stay, So take note of that. I wouldn't necessarily, Hoskins didn't get in the end zone. Judge Jefferson didn't have the best of games. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, let's follow up on that, the running back scenario, because we heard all offseason, the drumbeat got louder and louder that this was going to be a split backfield. You look at the carries, it wasn't a split backfield. 15 for Mason, 8 for Jones. But you look at the snap counts, you look at the routes, like it was very even in terms of being on the field and all that kind of stuff. And then we saw, Aaron Jones running down the field, like being utilized as a wide receiver for that touchdown. This usage pattern, is this kind of what you're expecting? More of Jones, being that passing down back, Mason being more the guy at the goal line, the guy, moving the chains. Is that what we saw last night? Is that going to continue?
Yeah, I think that's what we can expect. I think there's going to be weeks where we see Jones a little bit more involved, right? Then we see Mason maybe. But I think you're seeing a committee, and I think Mason is the one that should be running in between the tackles. I mean, he looked great yesterday. I'm not going to lie to you. He looked really good, looked explosive. And then you have Jones who could catch passes to the backfield. Great catch there for the touchdown there. So I think this is the kind of usage we can expect. I think they both have fantasy value here. And I think, there's going to be weeks where Mason does get in the end zone and Jones doesn't. But that's okay. This is what we should be expecting here. And I think they were being drafted accordingly, right? Like they were kind of going right there in ADP. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people were expecting this.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. On the other side of thing, and this is why it's obviously important, as Jeff Manns always says, watch the games yourself or trust someone that you follow to watch the games. Rome Odunze led the team with 9 targets, led the team with 6 catches for the Bears. That's really good. He didn't really do anything. Right? He had 6 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown. And I'm not going to say he didn't do anything because he was kind of the lead wide receiver. But the touchdown, like they didn't know he was on the football field. Like it was like there was no defender within 20 feet of him. Like he just. So what did you think of Odunze, of Moore, of Burden, of Olamide Zacchaeus? What did you think about the early going? Again, this is another scenario where the Bears had some nice moments last night, but the offense didn't click for 4 quarters for sure.
Yeah, I think Moore is the one that you're going to be able to trust on a week-to-week basis. Like that's kind of how I feel. That's how I felt going into the season. I think Odunze will have some moments. You mentioned that he scored a touchdown here, but it was wide open, right? That was a $650 swing in a showdown Slade for me. That touchdown. Nice. Yeah, no, the negative.
Oh, not nice. Oh,
no, I still cash, but it was in the negative.
Sorry.
But yeah, I do think Odunze will have some moments like what we saw, right? But I just don't know if it's going to be consistent because I do think Swift is going to be involved. He was involved in the passing game yesterday, like you mentioned before. Moore is going to be that guy. They have Burden, they have Loveland, like they have a lot of pieces. Komet was also on the field a couple of times. You have Ozzie there, who also made several catches. Like they spread the ball around here. So for me, I'm looking at Moore as the guy I'm okay with each and every week, and I think Odunze as a flex, in certain situations, yeah, you're going to be able to roster him, but I do think it's going to be volatile when it comes, week to week basis at least. That's how I think. You take away that touchdown, and I mean the production wasn't elite.
John G's got a question which I'm not quite sure what you mean here, John. So maybe you can have a follow-up. John asks, obviously it depends on what you can get, but is Etienne a guy we are trying to shop around with the Bigsby trade? Bigsby has been traded, for those that missed it, to the Eagles. Tuchin is most likely now the backup in Jacksonville. I don't know why Bigsby being traded out of town would make you want to deal Etienne. Am I reading this differently than you are, Armando? I'm confused by what John's asking here.
No, you're reading the same way I am. Okay. I'm trying to figure out. So I'm going to try to figure out the thought process here, and I'm going to assume, right, that maybe John thinks that now that Bigsby's out, he can get far more value than Etienne. I don't think you're going to get more. I don't know what you're expecting to get from him. I know he had a great week 1, and I know Bigsby being now increases his stock, but I feel like this is, if you drafted Etienne, you look at yourself and you're like, shit, I'm doing good right now. This worked out for me really well. I mean, sorry for cursing, but that's the way I would see it. Like, I mean, if you can get a great haul for Etienne, I'll move him. But at this point, I'm looking as you won on draft day. You got a player that you thought was going to be in the committee, and he's clearly not going to be in the committee, and is going to be the guy in Jacksonville. So I'd be holding.
Let's talk about a couple young running backs. And this is really, and I've already talked about this on the show today. I feel like I say it every day in Discord. I'll repeat it again now because maybe new people are on because you're joining us here. Grabbing random running backs is not a plan. Okay, it's not a plan. And the people that change running backs every week, because there are 1-2 people in every league that every week they just change running backs. Okay. Especially when we're talking about young players like Kaleb Johnson. Is it disappointing that Kaleb Johnson didn't see the field? We had 2 snaps or whatever. Is it disappointing? Absolutely. Did I anticipate Kaleb Johnson leading this team in week 1? Absolutely not. I think it was hilarious that Kenneth Gainwell actually led the backfield and it wasn't Jaylen Warren. Because, again, people have been trying for 5 years now to make Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren is never going to be the guy, folks. Never going to happen. It's not the. I told people already, and I think I saw you telling people too, you got to hold Kaleb Johnson, right? Like, this is a long-term play. He is still the most physically gifted, biggest back on this team. And I still think that he's the guy to own long-term with the Steelers. What say you?
Yeah, so Tyler Warren, 3.4 yards per carry, right? Like, he is not going to be that guy that's going to carry 20 times, 18 times, 17 times. I think he's that 8 to 12, opportunity guy, very involved in the passing, but I think that's where he fits best here. Kaleb Johnson is the long-term solution, in my opinion, for this backfield. When you look at week 1, they went with a veteran running back, one that's been around, one that can pass protect, one that could do some of the things that maybe Kaleb Johnson is not quite there yet. It was a tough matchup. The Jets have a good defense. I think this was all thought out, right? Was it a disappointing week 1? Sure. But if you drafted Kaleb Johnson, it wasn't for week 1. It might not even be for week 2. It was for the long-term outlook, right? It was for the season-long outlook. Like, he's someone that you drafted and you're holding. You're drafting, you're stashing for a couple of weeks, see how it plays out. not to start him, not to count on him right away. At least that's how I was drafting him. And if you're thinking about cutting him already, then you should have never drafted him. That's been my answer to everyone. You should have never drafted him. I know that there's some pieces out there. I know that there was some nice, performances out there. But I'm looking at Johnston as the guy who's down the stretch is going to be the feature back in an offense that I expect to be pretty good, and on a team that's going to play good defense, and they're just going to run the football. Like I think that's what we're expecting here. So I'm holding Johnston. I'm not getting rid of him. I've been asked a lot today, are we cutting Johnston for this? If I have Johnston, he's staying on my roster. Outside of you have no other option and you need help at a specific situation. But other than that, Johnston to me is an easy hold.
And again, there's a difference between looking at a box score and watching the game. We all knew heading into week 1 that Jaydon Blue wasn't physically at 100%. He's another one of these guys that I never expected to lead the team in week 1. They were going to go Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams to start the year. Javonte Williams on the scoreboard looked great. All Javonte Williams did was fall in the end zone twice from a yard. He didn't do anything. He averaged 3 yards a carry. He didn't break tap. He didn't do anything. He fell in the end zone twice. Does that give him some equity with the Cowboys? Maybe. Did he show any? He did not show me anything that he hasn't shown me in the past, and that's not enough to hold at bay Jaydon Blue all season long. So Jaydon Blue, another guy. If I have Blue, I'm holding Blue. Are you holding Blue like you would be with Johnson?
Yeah, same mindset, same thing. The process, that I had with Johnson. If I have Blue, holding him. For me, he's someone that could be a home run down the stretch for me and win me a league. That's how I view these two running backs.
Let's go to the situation with the Browns, and I said this a lot during preseason. Like, there are just some situations I'm out on the backfield with the Browns. I didn't draft the Saint. Like, there are just some situations and that's a lot of people want to always be involved with everything. Well, again, that's fine, but like, I'm looking at this Browns thing, and okay. So Sampson goes out there, excuse me, and he has 20 touches. We were talking about 20 touches with Swift earlier. He didn't really do much. He certainly didn't do anything on the ground, but he caught 8 passes and had 20 touches. Great. Sampson to the moon. Well, now we're hearing Judkins obviously signed his contract. There's reports that Judkins could be, which seems really quick, but could be on the field as early as this week. We don't know if Judkins, who could still be suspended by the NFL for the stuff that happened away from the field, that could still happen. So, Sampson in shallower leagues may not have been rostered, right? That's so that he could be a free agent. And so people are wondering what to do here. Or if you have Sampson, what to do here. Did he show you enough to say, all right, he's getting 250 touches this year, let's go? Are you worried about the scenario, quarterback changing, health scenarios, the return of Judkins? Talk us through it, Armando.
All right, so this is where I stand with Dylan Sampson. If you have him, sell him high. Just sell the 20 touches, sell the 20 opportunities. Jerome Ford played more snaps than he did, actually, for being honest. So Ford played more snaps. You have Judkins coming in as potentially as soon as week 2. We don't know what's going to happen. I still don't know because he could still be suspended. Like, we still don't. There's a lot of uncertainty with Judkins, right? But I'm selling the 20 touches. I'm with you. I was with you at the beginning of the season where I didn't want any part of this backfield. I still stick to that. I talked a lot in depth about that with Rich Milletto yesterday in the podcast. And for me, this is just a situation. It's going to get muddy. It's going to get cloudier. Like, yeah, he had 20 touches. Great, but I don't think that that's sustainable. This is one of those situations where I look at it, I'm like, this is fluky. I rather part ways with it. Just like you said, Javonte Williams. I think you could sell Javonte Williams high. I still think Javonte Williams will carry out a role, right? But I think you could sell these kind of players high. So for me, I'm selling Sampson. If he's out there, I've been asked a lot, Trey Benson or Sampson. I'm still adding Trey Benson over Sampson if they're both available. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm not chasing those 20 opportunities. I'm simply not. I don't think it's sustainable, Ray.
Armando Marsala, fantasyguru.com. Let's talk about a scenario on the other side of things. We're talking about, 20 pass attempts from McCarthy. Let's go to the Patriots, who, if you ask me, I would say, yeah, they'd rather throw the ball 20 times than 46 times, but they do it 46 times in week 1. So as a result, May was spraying the ball all over the place. One of the guys that had success was Kayshon Boutte, who actually has gone for 100 yards each of his last 2 games. He did it in the final week of the season last year. Now, with Boutte, there have been moments of excitement in his short NFL career. There's been moments of great disappointment. We know that Diggs is there, kind of as the alpha, but you look at, Demario Douglas is a diminutive guy. Matt Collins is what he is. Kyle Williams, I know there's some excitement. Efron Chisholm in some zones. but Boutte, could be the wide receiver 2 for this team. What are we doing here? Because this is one of those scenarios. Again, he had over 100 yards, so it's not going to be cheap to add him in a lot of scenarios. Would you be adding him?
I wouldn't overspend on Boutte, but I definitely would be adding him if he's available in your league and you want some wide receiver depth. He's someone that towards the end of my process in best ball, I started drafting a lot in the final rounds, simply because it was, a lot of positive reports kind of surfacing regarding him and in practice and all that stuff and where the team was with him. I still think he's going to be maybe third in the pecking order here. You have, like you mentioned, Diggs. I think his role will continue to evolve as the season progresses. I still look at Henry as a major threat in the passing game here. Hunter Henry, the tight end for Drake May, he's going to be a security blanket here. I think Douglas is going to still be involved. I'm not going to be expecting 8 targets, 6 receptions, and over 100 yards for Boutte every week. But I do think that this is a player that's going to have a decent and solidified role throughout the season. And if there's any injuries, that role could continue to increase here. So definitely a speculative add for me, not someone that I'm adding and plugging my starting lineup by any means, and not someone that you want to overbid, right? Like I wouldn't want to overbid in my fab. If you don't need a receiver, like this is just this would be a luxury addition. That's how I view it.
Armando, we had a situation with the Ravens where somehow they scored 40 points, and I think they threw 4 passes. Like it was great. It was crazy, right? Like, and so my question is, of all the guys we're talking about here, Zay Flowers was drafted to be a starter, right? So, okay, so he's different than a lot of these other guys we've been talking about. Zay Flowers goes out, 7 catches, 143 yards, and a touchdown. He carried the ball twice. Like, oh my gosh, like he was a star in this game. He had like a 48% target share, which is not possible. It's very likely that 143 yards is the season best. I don't know how many times he's going to catch 7 passes. That'll be game, sure. But I don't know how many times he's going to catch 7 passes because I don't know how many times he's going to throw the ball 19 times or whatever it was. Is this a sell with Zay Flowers? Is this a hold with Zay Flowers? I know it depends upon what the return would be. Do you think that this week 1 on national TV, and you think it would juice up Zay Flowers to the point where you might be able to trade him and it makes sense or not?
You know what, Ray? I really never thought of it that way. So that I think that's a really good perspective. If you can sell Zay Flowers at the premium price and get a good haul in return, and it's going to improve your roster, I am not against it. I agree 100% with you. I'm not expecting 7 catches on any given week, or consistently at least. I'm not expecting 9 targets consistently. You're talking about a game where Mark Andrews was targeted once. All right, DeAndre Hopkins was targeted twice. Bateman was targeted 3 times. Like no one else saw more than 3 targets. It's not the norm here in Baltimore. Likely was out. Like these are all key factors here, right? Like I think Flowers are going to be an every week starter for fantasy managers, sure, but I'm not going to expect this kind of production. He led all receivers in PPR scoring this week, and it's not the norm. It's not something that I see consistently. This is a team that likes to run the football as well. So, yeah, if you can sell him and you can get a good haul, I am not against doing so. But I'm not expecting these numbers every week. I do think he's a reliable source, but not someone that is going to produce, top 10 numbers on a consistent basis by any means.
Yeah, and it's something to think about too, because this is I've seen this question unfortunately multiple times. Hey, I'm looking to trade this guy. Do I do it? And I kind of just did the same thing with you, asking you a question. You need specifics, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone said to you, would you trade him for Ladd McConkey? Like that's a question. Would you trade him for Deebo Samuel? That's a question. Saying, hey, should I trade Zay Flowers? Well, yeah, if someone thinks he's a wide receiver 1, like Armando said, yeah, of course they trade him then. If they're looking at him and they think he's wide receiver 26, you're not gaining anything. So
correct.
The context of the move is always important. So if you're asking questions in Discord in particular, always make sure you get at least to that level so that we can help you out with a pretty good answer. Armando Marcel, fantasyguru.com. This is really interesting talking about Ladd McConkey. Jeff Mann said something like, don't start Quentin Johnston this week. Someone called with a question and he's like, come on, man. And Quentin Johnston goes out and scores 2 touchdowns. And then somebody comes, over the top. Jeff, you're an idiot. You're a moron. Okay. Quentin Johnston did have a big game. 2 touchdowns. Okay. Ladd McConkey's obviously the number 1 receiver with his team. Keenan Allen had 10 targets. Quentin Johnston on the waiver wire in a lot of leagues. Are you bidding at all? And if you are, what price point are you bidding?
I'm bidding, but I'm bidding what? 4 to 8%.
Yes, you're not getting them. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is the thing. Like, if they ask me what I'm bidding, that's what I'm bidding. Whether you get it or not, that's out of my control. But I wouldn't go more than a specific number for certain players. Like Now, if you're a needy team and you want to bump it to 10 to 12%, like if you just like if you went, I mean, running back heavy and you have no receivers and your third receiver is like, I don't know, someone that's not good, sure, maybe go to 10, 12%, but you're not going to get these kind of players with that kind of bid. You're going to have to bid 20%, and I don't view him as a 20% like value right now. Like, you mentioned the Keenan Allen. Like,
would you go Keenan Allen or Johnston, by the way? Which of the two, if they're both on the waiver wire?
I think Keenan Allen is going to be a safer floor on a week-to-week basis than Quentin Johnston is. I truly do think that. So long as he's healthy, that's the only thing with Allen, if we're being honest. Because let's not forget there was a chemistry here before with Justin Herbert. Like, that was his go-to guy. Like, this was his guy. These two know each other very well. There's a relationship. There's a bond. Like, I think so long as Allen is healthy, he's going to be very involved in this offense, and I think it's a weekly safe floor. Maybe his upside and his ceiling is not what it was at the peak of his career, but I do think that he's still going to be productive from a PPR standpoint.
Mentioned the Saints earlier. I have, I think, one share of Rashid Shaheed. I hate that. I shouldn't have said that. I hate when people say they have shares. I have one league where I have Rashid Shaheed. I think that's it. I think I have one single Saint on all of my teams. I'm just not. I didn't invest. And you go out there and, Spencer Rattler played fine. Well, did he? I mean, his completion percentage is 59%. He averaged under 5 yards per attempt. I mean, he threw the ball 46 times and had 214 yards. That's terrible. Okay? That's terrible. Now, the guy that came through, I guess Olave came through, but he averaged like 2 yards a catch. So what was it? Olave had like 13 targets and like 54 yards. We obviously know Shaheed's going to be involved. Juwan Johnson is the guy that pops, right? He caught 8 passes for 76 yards. There was that late play where the ball just went off his hands when he jumped in the end zone. He could have had a game-winning catch, which would have made his numbers huge. Then it would have been 9 for 100 and a touchdown. I've seen Juwan Jennings' name over and over again in Discord. Okay. 2 things. 1, who is Juwan Jennings? And 2, give us your thoughts on the tight end position, because this happens every year. You either invested in a high-end tight end, in my opinion, or you drafted somebody else and you just hold. The waiver wire roulette that people play at the tight end position, much like roulette with the running back, it doesn't work. You're going to pick up Juwan Johnson, and instead of 46 passes this week, Rattler's going to throw 26 passes next week. Johnson's not going to catch 8 passes. He's going to catch 3 passes for 47 yards. Who is Johnson, and how are you handling the tight end position?
In my opinion, Johnson is not 11 targets, 8 catches every week. I think it's going to be more volatile than that. I still don't trust the quarterback play in New Orleans. Like, I simply don't. Once this team starts getting healthier at the tight end position, are we going to see Johnson with this kind of role? Like, I know it's not going to be right away, but once they get healthy, like, so if you're looking at a short-term lens and you need a short-term solution, sure, but understand that it's going to be volatile, right? And you probably have a player who is going to be just as volatile. Like, I'm only looking at Johnson here in situations where if you have Kittle, he's going to miss a couple of weeks, and now you need someone here to replace your tight end, sure. If you have Ingram, we still don't know what the issue is with his calf, and we kind of got to take the wait and see approach. Like, in these situations, I'm expecting Bowers to be just fine. They already, the reports are all positive as far as his week 2 availability. So, like, I'm not overly concerned there. So for me, it's one of those situations where do you need the tight end because you either you suffered an injury or you took a shot on someone that's just not there, whatever the case may be. But I look at it as a short-term solution. Really, guys that I'm looking at potential long-term solutions, Hunter Henry, but he's someone I like going into the season. Like, he's someone that I thought would provide a weekly floor. And if you were waiting around for the tight end, I think that's where you're at. So, like, if you want a weekly floor, I think Hunter Henry's that in PPR formats. I was intrigued by Kyle Pitts' role in week 1. I like the usage. I like kind of what I saw from him. Now that Drake London's dealing with that shoulder issue, that sprained shoulder, that could, even if he plays, he could be playing at, less than 100%, which could increase the Pitts' role. So he's someone that if you're trying to get someone off waiver that can maybe turn into something, I think he's someone you can consider here. I did like his role. I did like his involvement in the offense. So, but Jennings, like, for me, Johnson for me is one of those, like, long-term, I don't know if that's going to be sustainable. I don't view it as a sustainable thing. I think we've seen this with him before where he has some big weeks, he disappears, and he comes back another big week. And I'd rather go with a little bit more consistency or maybe a little bit more of a safer floor when you're taking that kind of of approach with the tight end position than taking that hit or miss each and every week.
It's unlikely that they'll throw the ball more than 46 times in any game this year. It's unlikely. You mentioned the quarterback position. Shuck is going to start at some point, so that changes the dynamic of the offense too. And that guy's scattershot. So you talked about that in the preseason. These guys, no matter what name you throw out there, all these guys are scoring 9.5 points a week. People need to understand that, right? So the chasing of tight end stuff doesn't work. I love the Kyle Pitts thing. London's beat up, Mooney's beat up. I'd go Kyle Pitts. I'm almost positive Kyle Pitts is going to cost you less than Johnston anyway.
Yes.
So I'd go Pitts if I was making that move on the waiver wire. But understand, they're all the same. And the numbers are the numbers. You write about them. We talk about them in the preseason. There's the elite guys. And if you didn't take one of those guys, there's another group of guys that are all 8 to 12 points. And then there's a huge group of guys that are 6 to 8 points. That's it. That's the position. And just because Juwan Jennings had a really nice week 1 doesn't mean, like Armando said, he's getting 10 targets a week. He's catching 7 passes. No, that's not what it is. So be cautious, because it's one thing to say I'm spending at the running back position, right? At the tight end position, Juwan Johnson hits. He catches 67 passes for 812 yards and 6 scores. He doesn't do anything. It doesn't move the bar forward for you. Here's a question about the running back position from Joe B. Armando. Who's the better hold? Chris Rodriguez, who was a shocking inactive, though, as we've discussed here on the show after Jeff Mans talked about it, could have had something to do with them playing on Thursday Night Football this week. Could. Maybe he's active this week, and we'll see. Rodriguez or Blue? I would say Blue between these two guys, but I think in most leagues, someone should have both these guys on their roster.
Yeah, I would say Blue. Blue would be the one I would prefer holding if I have to choose one or the other. I think the long-term outlook for him is just, I think there's a higher ceiling there. Rodriguez would be someone not necessarily going to cut right away. But if you need to make the move, yeah, he would be the one I cut there.
This is funny. I can't say that we have defensive rankings. We have kicker rankings, all this kind of stuff. But team defense is dumb. It's just a dumb thing. And you can see Angelo won a matchup this week because the Ravens got -7 points. Now, they gave up 41 points, to the Bills. So I get it. But, a lot of time that's an extreme example. I guess they blew the game. They gave up, Allen went for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, all that kind of stuff. That's an effort that deserves a negative, right? But it's usually the other side of things where, there's a pick 6 on a random play or some kick return. Where are you in 2025 on team defense, Armando?
I don't have them in my league. I cut them out a while ago, right? This is why, defense is so volatile. That's what it is. When you're talking about an entire unit, it just becomes very volatile, high variance, right? This is why when we get defensive questions, I'm like, just play the best defense on the highest ranked defense is what I'm playing every week. If you're in a team in a league with defenses, look at the rankings and just go ahead and play the highest ranked defense. It's very volatile. This is why I don't invest. I'm pretty sure the Ravens defense was one that people were investing before the last round, right? And look at that. They gave you a -7 in week 1 to start off the season. Then you're asking yourself, do I play them against good teams? Do I not?
Look at the schedule too. The Bills were very likely to put up 28 points in the game, right?
Yes.
So the Ravens were not a good play just in general, so. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I do want to add something when we were talking about the tight end position, and because you were mentioning there's in pockets, and you're right. You just have to, as a fantasy manager, understand what pocket you want to be in. Do you want the safe 8 to 12 fantasy points, or do you want this, the 6 to 15 fantasy point guy? But that week he might give you 3 points. There's a week that he could give you 3 points. You have to figure that out on your own. We can't answer that for you. I personally like to take the safer approach, right, where I'll take the 8 to 12 and avoid volatility at the position because as it is already volatile, and I'll take the safe floor. But you might want the high upside guy, but that high upside guy might give you 1 to 2 points on any given week, and you just have to be willing to accept that as a fantasy manager. Just wanted to add that because I feel like there's 2 ways to approach that position once you wait outside of the elite guys, and you have to determine as a manager which one works best for you.
Kyle's got a question about Tyler Warren, Armando. Huge effort in week 1. Obviously, everything the Colts did worked. Everything the Dolphins didn't work. Warren had 9 targets. He caught 7 balls for 76 yards. this could be different than Juwan Johnston. Obviously, Warren's a first-round draft pick. There's the potential for him to be a significant weekly contributor to this offense. You've got Pittman there, and then there's, Pierce running fly routes and Downs playing 2/3 of the snaps, half the snaps. Like, there could be a role here for Daniel Jones too. Where are we at? Like, what did you take away from that week 1 effort for Warren? About what you expected, better than you expected? You excited about him moving forward? What are your thoughts with the youngster?
So as we got closer and closer to the start of the season, Warren started moving up my board. I saw the way they were utilizing him in preseason. I kind of continued to read, consistent reports. I'm always a little bit skeptical about rookie tight ends, but there's no denying that the Colts want to make sure that he's heavily involved. What impressed me the most about him was not, his what he did in the passing game, his catches. He also ran the football. I was actually impressed with some of the blocks he made. And a lot of times early in their career, like, that's what kind of holds tight ends back, like, they're blocking. He made some key blocks for some big gains against the Dolphins. Now, granted, the Dolphins defense looked atrocious. The Dolphins, like, in general, looked atrocious. So, like, I am going to, make sure that we note that. But I was very impressed with Warren's role and what he did, like, what his production and what he did on the football field, the blocks. I think he's going to be a key part of this offense moving forward. And I think he's someone that if you drafted him, you should be happy with the results of week 1. And I think this is what you should expect moving forward. And if you didn't, well, it's okay. But I do think that this is here to stay. I don't think that was a fluke by any means.
Armando Marsala, fantasyguru.com. He joins us every Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We go about a half hour-ish with him. Go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up for the seasonal football product, the DFS football product, the betting football product. Don't forget to go to the website, click on the Elite Plus tab in the top toolbar to find this show, Fantasy Sports Daily, cataloged all the old episodes. You can also find Armando's podcast there. Mind of Marsal, he just dropped a new episode talking about week 1, so more detail there. What do you got coming up the next couple of days, Armando?
Yeah, so we got the Snapshare article that'll come out tomorrow. Tonight, I will be on the live stream with Russell Clay and Tyler Beaker. Then we got Thursdays as staff picks. We have the Red Zone report there. Friday, I got the Mind of Marsal podcast. And on Sunday mornings, I'll be every Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern with Chris Rose. We'll be breaking down the DFS slate there. And then, of course, as soon as they get off that, I'll be in Discord all the way up to kickoff answering questions. So, and you can tag me on Discord any moment. I was in there. I've been in there all morning. I'll jump in there in a little while as well to answer more questions and get that out for you guys.
Armando Marsala, fantasyguru.com. Again, join us every Tuesday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. That live stream is at 7 o'clock tonight.
7 p.m. Eastern, yes,
7 p.m. Eastern Time. Yep. So tune in for that for a little bit more. Before you do that, remember 2 to 5 Eastern on SiriusXM is Jeff Mann's show. So 3 shows today. Only 2 of them are video. You can't watch Jeff's face like you can watch Armando and mine. But 3 shows for you today. And again, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner over at fantasyguru.com to become part of the Elite Mafia. As always, Armando, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. It was a good visit today. And 7 days from now, we'll run it back and do it again as we start looking ahead to week 3 in next week's visit.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
He's Armando Marsal. I'm Ray Flowers. Thanks for being with us today. Tomorrow, Justin Fenceman will be back here with you on Wednesday. I'll be with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show back Thursday and Friday this week. 12 to 1 Eastern. Remember, Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com, right here. Tell a friend, spread the word. Free show. We try to bring you some good stuff here for about the hour we do each day. For Armando, I'm Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.